Okay. First one's
Okay.
up.
Okay. Hey guys, it's Autism and Us, and we're here tonight with Autism on the Seas. And give us 1 second while we set up. And this is Sandy from Autism on the Seas.
Hello, everybody.
Just give us, okay.
I'm sharing to the group, the first group.
Okay, Sandy, just bear with us 1 second while we set up. So tonight, you guys will be talking to Sandy from Autism on the Seas, and of course, we're discussing the 2020 cruise for Autism and Us, and she will be helping us with a lot of the information that all of us have been asking about, and hopefully, a lot of us will be able to see a lot of potential and capability for our families to be able to cruise with our loved ones on the spectrum. Okay, so let's wait for a few more people, and let's go ahead and let's just finish setting up here, and then we'll go ahead and let you know, Sandy, if you can.
And thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you for
Absolutely.
for willing to do this. Thank you. Just hold on 1 second. It just takes us a second to get everything situated and everything, and everybody to get in here, and yeah. So let me get into the comments. Okay, so how is everybody tonight? Hi, Richard and Carrie. Hello, Veronica. And yeah, so let's just let me get this over to here. Okay. Hey, Gail. Didn't see you pop in here. How are you? Oh, can Gail hear me? Oh, maybe can you hear me, Gail? Or is her volume not turned up? Oh, is she, here, let me see if I would have to type over here. She can't hear us, Nita. You can't hear her either, Nita? Oh, can I not hear any of you guys?
I can hear you.
And you can't hear Nita, right, Sandy?
I did at the beginning.
So did I. I didn't hear. Okay, Nita, if you can hear us, we can't hear you too. So Sandy and I can hear each other, and we can't hear you. Mark, can you tell me if you can hear all of us, or if you can who you can hear? And I can see them talking. That's strange. Okay, we can't hear Nita either. And Veronica can only hear Sandy and myself.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
yeah, I can hear Nita now. I can hear Nita.
Yay.
Yeah, but I can't hear Sandy still. I can't hear Gail. No. Nita?
Do you have a suggestion I can send her?
No, it's something on her end. Do you have headphones?
Let me ask her.
No, she said no. Let's see. It has to be something in her computer. I'm not sure.
Maybe her iPad or her oh yeah, she has it.
Okay.
And I see
Okay,
the microphone
while we're waiting, everybody. So good evening, everybody. As most of you know, that we are planning our very first cruise. Yes. So we are going to be working closely with Autism of the Seas. As most of you know, they provide the assisted cruises. So we have two of the representatives here with us tonight to answer any and all of your questions, but we're going to let them go over um, their information, and then afterwards or during, we'll chime in with any of your questions that you may have. So we have Sandy, who's been with 30 years, right? Over 30.
Well, I've been with Autism on the Seas for almost 4 years.
Oh, 4 years. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. And in education, I was in there for over about 34.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. And then we have Gail, who she's going to be working with us to get the group together and everything. That's who Linda's been talking with. So we can get the rooms and see how this is going to go. So let's see if she can hear us now. No,
And you
no,
can hear us. You can hear us, Gail.
you can hear us, but we can't hear. It's
Oh, you
some
know what? You know what? Have her go out and come back.
Yeah, go out and come back with your headphones on. See if that works.
Okay. Let me send her a message.
No, she sees it.
And
Oh, she
can
does?
hear
Okay.
us
Oh, oh, that's right. She can hear.
now.
Y'all are awesome.
So, okay, so let me wait. Let me make sure one more. We're gonna wait for Gail to come back, and then we can get started. Let's see. Is it everywhere, Linda?
I just now opened up another one. I
Okay.
mean, mine.
Okay. Great. 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 Okay. All right. I'm gonna go in here and see if I can also do some invites. Now, even if you can't stay for the full presentation, this will be up. We're gonna leave it up on pinned at the top of each of the groups, as well as the main page. So you'll be able to come back and listen in, or if you forgot a question tonight, you will be able to still ask. They'll come back and answer any questions you may have. No, no. Let me see. Is it
Still
something?
no.
No. Yeah, she's not muted on my end. Everything is open. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. She's not muted on my end. Everything's open.
Okay.
Uh, okay, she has some help. Maybe they can.
That's awesome.
Okay, guys, well, while we're waiting, Sandy, you can
Yes.
get started since we have some
Okay.
people in.
That's
Okay,
perfect.
you have the
Awesome.
floor.
Okay. Well, jump right in. Okay. At any time. So, our company, Autism on the Seas, was established in 2007. It began with a partnership with Royal Caribbean. And we right now are the leading server in the cruise line with developmental disabilities. We are called Autism on the Seas, but we do serve families with people of all abilities. So that would include Down syndrome. It would include Asperger's. It would include cerebral palsy, cognitive, just any type of disability for medically fragile. So, all types of children, young adults from the age of 3 through adulthood. So, that's where we get our families from with children or young adults with any kind of ability of that sort. We have 40 to 50 staffed cruises a year. And we have our 2020 schedule up, and the beginnings of our 2021 schedule is up now. And we cruise out of approximately
I
14
think I'm good.
ports.
Yes.
Yay!
Mhm.
Welcome.
Welcome, Gail.
I had to go to my phone. I forgot to. I just
Oh,
it's on my
okay.
phone now. So.
Okay.
Okay, well, that works. That works.
Mhm.
So that's the introduction of us and who we serve and where we go out of. So 14 ports, 40 to 50 staff cruises throughout the year. And then we also provide services to families if they're going on a cruise on their own, but they want a few supports along the way. We have that also for them.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes. So would you like me to tell you a little bit about our staff?
Yes, as
Yes,
much as
please.
possible.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. And I have some notes typed up, so that's why you see me looking occasionally over here. Well, our staff is made up of professionals. They are volunteers. And the thing that they would want you to know about them is that they are passionate about what they do and they love kids and families. And that's why they come and they volunteer their time for, 4 nights, 5 nights, 7 nights, 9 nights, on up to ever how many nights there are in the cruises. They all have had a full background check. So I want you to know that. And then they also hold a degree in some area that has to do with special needs, whether that's child development, they're a speech therapist, they're an ABA therapist, sociology, just any. They come from all types of backgrounds and they all have experience with special needs kids and their families. So you want to know that it's just not somebody that wants to go on a cruise. They're coming with a purpose because they have a passion so that all our families have the opportunity to have experiences that some families take, I think, sometimes for granted. Hey, let's go on a cruise. Well, when you're a family that has a special ability child, you have to have some plans ahead of time, and you got to prepare the whole family, and you got to know what you want to do and how you're going to accommodate them. So they do come. They're very highly motivated, and they know they're going to be working really hard, and they also follow along with the policies and procedures of whatever cruise line they're on too. So they have to go through when they come in. And let me encourage any of the supporters out there in your group. If you're in any of those fields and you want to come and be a volunteer, go to our website. There's a link there about how you can start the process of becoming a volunteer. You fill out an application, you go through the background checks, then you also go through an interview process before actually stepping on to the cruise ship. So that's how we get our volunteer base. We have a couple hundred volunteers. They have their availability based on their cruises. And then they also, not only can they volunteer to be a part of Team Orange, sometimes they volunteer not only to work with all the kids in our family group, but some of them serve as a one-on-one. So they work one-on-one with that particular child in that particular family. So there's a vast way of the way the volunteers can work with us.
Okay.
So that kind of gives you an idea about that.
Okay. Now, does that cover all of the staff, including the one-to-ones? That's the entire staff of Autism on the Seas?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
So the company Autism on the Seas is actually based in Connecticut, and they have a home office there, and they coordinate all of the cruises and work with the cruise lines to make sure we have availability. Because one of the most treasured things about our cruises, and the parents really enjoy, is that we provide respite time. So that the parents can feel safe and secure that their child or their young adult is being taken care of, and that they can go and, some for the very first time, leave their child in a safe place with professionals so that they can go and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours alone, or maybe go out with their other kids and do something fun along with them while their child is having fun too. So it's like a club setting. So it's not like, oh, we're taking them there and they're gonna sit around. No, we have activities that are sensory based, and we try to find out what they enjoy the most, and we have fun times with them, and they come to know us. It's kind of like the Teen Orange Club, so they want to come, and that shows you when they want to come someplace that they're having fun and enjoying themselves.
Yes.
Too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that kind of leads into, so when during that period of time, so our kids are in respite and we're doing our thing. Our children are doing those activities, they're having fun. I guess it could lead into the next question that might come up, meltdowns. What happens during respite and not during respite? I guess addressing it during both times.
Okay. Well, that's a great question, because kids are kids, and I can guarantee you, if you go anywhere, anytime, any place, some kid can have a moment, and we know that. That's just the way that kids are, and I can say that for adults too. So let's talk about if it's in respite. So during our time with the families, we do, before they even arrive, we have a very extensive preparation. And so what that means is the parents will fill out a questionnaire that talks to us about their family. So we will know, do the kids have any mobility issues? Do they have any allergies? Do they have anything that maybe triggers them? Or do they have something that comforts them? And so we'll kind of know a little bit prior to that. Now, before the first respite is held, we have, on the first evening of the cruise, we call an intro session. So the parents or a parent of the child, and I'm just going to say a child for talking purposes, would sit down with the Team Orange staff. They sit on a one-on-one and they go over these questionnaires very thoroughly, and talk about what are the things the kids enjoy. Because when we're on a cruise, we're on a vacation. Now, yes, we want to know all about from their teachers back home, and you too, what they do on a normal basis. Like, do they have a certain schedule? Do they use a pad to help communicate? And so when they arrive in respite, we will have things there for them to enjoy. Now, we do not take any data. We do want to know what their goals are and what they're working on and what are their strengths, but we're not going to be pressuring them in any way or making any demands on them to do anything. So if they don't want to do arts and crafts, that's perfectly fine. If they want to run around and do all the active activities, to do the balls, to be on the inflatables that we have, if they want to watch movies, if they want to play games, they want to do Jenga, we're there to find the activities that they enjoy. So a meltdown may not occur. Now, if a meltdown does occur, we will work with them right away to try to, well, first of all, we try to prevent it. And then if we see that something's beginning to agitate them, or they're not finding pleasure in something, then we will redirect or provide something different, a different activity for them. And then if they do have some type of meltdown, then of course we try to work one-on-one with them. We try to find something else that's very soothing for them, so that it doesn't escalate. And very, very rarely, I'm getting ready to go on my 36th event with Autism on the Seas, and I can be very honest with you. It's very rarely that we have someone that escalates to the point that may become where I may need some more support from the family. But if it does rise to that level, I would not hesitate to reach out to the parents and just say, hey, this is what's going on. Can you give me some advice of what are techniques that you use at home? And then once that escalation is gone down, we just go right back on.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about, Linda, let me answer that question if you're not in respite.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's really important. Okay. One of the things that we provide every family with are some cards. One is I need help, so that if your child is somewhere and they're not with us, and you or the child can present this I need help card, and it will have our grief leader's number on it. I will have a ship phone. I'll have my cell phone. And if you're somewhere, in between a break time for the staff and you need help, they will reach out and call us right away, and we'll come right away to help support. We also help the parents if they need help with transitions. Let's say your child, I've had this happen before, my child doesn't want to leave the room to come to dinner. Okay, well, you give us a call and I'll send somebody down, and you know how it is, how they behave sometimes differently for different people, and we'll help transition them down to dinner or to wherever. We're there to support you. So it's not just about respite. We're from like 8 in the morning till 10 at night. We're there to support families.
I like that.
I do too. Okay. Somebody else asked, where is respite held? Where will your child be when they're in respite?
That is a great question. One of the very important things that we do with the cruise line is before we put up our cruises on our website to say they're staff cruises, we establish relationship with that ship, and to make sure that the conference rooms are available to us, because that's very important that we have a room that we can go to, that we can be a quiet room or it can be an active room depending on what the kids need. And then we also set up a very secure zone, so that is where we will have respite in the afternoons and the evenings.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you one more thing about that.
Okay.
We do have respite scheduled, and every day our families will have a schedule that lets them know what services we're providing, just like I said, for all the meals, for pool time. But when we get to respite time and the end of the evenings, we also sometimes offer babysitting services, which are after hours of the staff. So if a family sees something, let's say it's disco night, and they want to go out to disco night down on the promenade, well, they could let me know, the day before or that day, hey, I want some babysitting service. And I can try and ask one of the staff if they'd be willing to, to go to the cabin and be with that child so that the parents could go out for a little bit longer. And that's a very good thing, too, because then the parents enjoy themselves, too.
Okay, and that's outside of the hours, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because, okay. And then, so this kind of seems like a time where I can fit in the one-to-one then. That there's also a one-to-one that you can have for the length of the cruise. Can you explain what a one-to-one would provide? And then I will go to Gail and discuss how you get the one-to-one.
Yeah,
or maybe Gail might have all the information.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off by telling you how we work it, and she can talk about how the difference in the cost is.
Okay.
So the staff ratio to our children is 1 to 2. So we have a staff that consists of a group leader, and then depending on how many families we have, we'll have a Team Orange staff of the 1 to 2 kids. However, there is another opportunity that parents can look at the option to have a one-on-one staff. So that one-on-one staff does everything with Team Orange, but they are focused on that one kid. So let me give you an example. Say we're at the pool. I may be watching Sam and Larry, and Gail is a one-on-one, and she's watching Joe. So her primary focus is going to be on Joe whenever we are together at any event. So whether we're at a private venue event, we're ice skating, she's focusing on Joe, where I'm watching the other staff are watching all kids all together on that. Does that explain, Linda, a little bit more?
Yeah, I guess that would I would ask the question. So a one-to-one is still in your scheduled events.
Yes.
It's not like someone who goes with your family where you want to go. It's still in Autism on the Seas, whatever events that you have scheduled.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
So the one-on-one that I'm speaking of, now I have had families that have brought their own nannies and their own caretakers, but what I'm talking about with the one-on-one services is provided through our staff.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
go ahead. And the family gets to know the one-on-one prior to going. So they get to establish a relationship and speak with them and talk with them prior to the.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, Gail, could you talk about the difference in the cost with a one-to-one?
Sure. I'd also like to add, in addition to what Sandy said about what the one-on-one provides, is say also if there's a child that has a one-on-one and say they don't want to go to respite, or they don't, maybe they are, for whatever reason, they don't want to go to respite, or there might be a scheduled excursion through Autism on the Seas and they don't want to go. So a perfect example, if the child wanted to stay on the ship and swim in the pool, then the one-on-one would be there at the request of the family, to rather than go on the excursion, would be there specifically for whatever they wanted to do during during the normal excursion time or respite time for the child.
Yeah, so you can swap off a little bit. Let me give an example. Say we're going to be doing the rock wall at 12:30, and Joey doesn't want to go to the rock wall, and that was an hour of time. Then Gail, as the one-on-one, could take that hour of time and place it at a different activity or transfer it over. Maybe they want to go to the carousel instead, and Gail would go with the parent, because the one-on-one has to always have one other person with them unless they're doing in-cabin sitting. And then also when we go do beach excursions, the one-on-one can do an excursion, whatever the family's wanting to do, but they can't stay on the ship by themselves with a kid. The only time a kid can stay without their parents if they're staying like with the Royal Caribbean club or staff. But that was a great example. Gail.
Okay. So it's still the same slot of time. It's just a different activity on board.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And it gives more flexibility. So if Joey doesn't want to come that night to respite, well, they can do respite in cabin that time too. So the parents still get their respite time.
Okay. So I guess that's the only time that the parent doesn't have to be there, or the respite, or the one-to-one doesn't need another adult, is in cabin.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And then because even with Team Orange, say we're at dinner and Joey wants to go to the restroom, then two of the staff would go out so the parents can remain seated and enjoy their dinner the entire time. And we would go out for a walk, or we would take them to the restroom and come back. But there's always two of us together at all times.
Okay.
Hold on one second, Linda. We see your questions. We're gonna get through this, and as soon as we finish with this part of the presentation, then we'll put up the questions.
Awesome. Okay. Send those questions in.
Yeah, but I do see them, Lorinda. I do see what you're posting. Okay, that's all
I do. This one's not a question; it's a comment. It says, "I have tears of joy running down my face."
Aww. Yeah. Linda, let me tell you, I gave a little bit of background of preparation prior to coming as far as we learning about the children. But let me tell you a little bit about how we're different when you first arrive at the port. So once you come to the port, you're going to drop off your luggage, which will be tagged for your cabins. And then you're going to come to the entrance. You will not get in any lines at all with the cruise line. You come directly to the front door where the entrance is. And at their front door, you'll see us dressed in our bright orange and holding, usually we will have orange balloons with us. And you'll be greeted, you'll introduce yourself, and then we expedite you as quick as possible right through registration and onto the ship. So you're not standing in the long lines registering. And then once you get on board, we'll have a location for you to have some lunch. Then you'll get to go to your cabin. And then one other thing that's really unique about Autism on the Seas is muster drill. Now, muster drill is when they do the safety drill. Now, when you think about that, you think about a lot of people in a lot of room and a lot of craziness. It's really loud. You're really tight together. It even gives me a little anxiety, I have to admit. But we will do a private muster drill in our conference room. And at that time, we'll give you T-shirts and lanyards and welcome your family. But that is a definite plus with Autism on the Seas, is not having to be in that large group.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all that takes, that's a long process. All of that. Yeah, I remember all of that. Yeah, that was a long process. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to compliment our moms and dads that pack those suitcases, get all those passports together, and just get the kids there. Even that can cause a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
In the family. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, Gail, we were talking about the one-to-one, and somebody just asked about that part, the cost of it.
Okay, so
sorry. Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I will give you an example for a cruise that is one of our staff cruises right now. So for example, June 29th of 2020, there is a 4-night cruise leaving out of Port Canaveral. And for a one-on-one, this is for the 4 nights, it would be $415. And that is a one-on-one just specifically for your child.
The entire for the scheduled slots of the entire length of the cruise, the 4 days.
Correct.
It was a 4-day cruise, right? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
4 days. And it varies. The price will vary on the length of cruise, how much the cruise fare is. Generally, the bigger ships, the higher. It depends on a lot of things, but that's just an example.
Okay.
Put out, Linda, answer Lorienda's question. You see it about the communication?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a good one. Did somebody? What was that?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna get to that one too. The method or the mode of communication. How will you get a hold of the parents that are out on an excursion and the child is in respite?
Okay, well, that's a great question because that's one of the very first things we're going to find out when you're on the ship. One is we need to find out where your muster station is. So if we are in respite at any time and there's any emergency related to the ship, we assign staff members to take your children directly to your muster station. So before you leave that first meeting, we know where everybody's going. And so I know that I take Joey and Sam to A, Gail takes Kathy and Sammy to C. So we already do that. We establish those emergency procedures right away. I just lost my train of thought.
The contacting parents.
Thank you. I get too excited about telling you. Okay, so one of the important things in a respite is that we have a contact information sheet. So as you're signing your kid in, I need to know how to contact you. Now there's a couple of ways. Sometimes people that have iPhones are able to send iMessages to one another. So texting works really well. I really suggest to the parents to consider getting the internet package, at least for one device. And on Royal Caribbean, that's called Voom. And that way it enables us to be able to contact each other through WhatsApp, which is a free app. You can also make phone calls through WhatsApp also, or you can use Facebook Messenger. And the only time we would contact you is if we needed you during that respite time, or if you needed to ask me, how are they doing? I'm glad to reach that. But that is the main ways that we make that, because what I have found, if somebody says, oh, we're going to go to the pool, well, you may get to the pool and there's no chairs and now you're in the casino. So I really kind of need to know, we have a communication plan established so if for any reason we needed to contact you, we'd know where you were.
Okay.
Sounds good. And this one had to do with respite too. So I think that cleared up the contact. I also have this, and somebody else had this question. What about eating and picky eaters in respite?
Okay, that's really good. So usually our respites are sandwiched in between meals. So we would have, on C days, we would have our respite in the afternoon, and then the evenings we have it after dinner. So one of the things that we do, we'll have water available if the kids would like to have water, but we don't allow any food into the respite time just because of allergies, and we want to make sure that we don't have anyone exposed to anything that they're allergic to. So we don't do snack time in respite.
Okay. Okay. And then this one goes, I think, within respite and outside respite during I guess when you guys are doing activities, potty train, I guess anybody on the spectrum being not being potty trained.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that, because sometimes people can feel a little awkward about that. That is not a big deal for us. So what I usually say is, if your kid needs any supplies during the respite time, just pack them a backpack, and we will put the backpack in a safe place. And if they need it, and we do ask you, like, how often do you want us to prompt them to go to the restroom, or when do you want us to take them? So we ask you specifically for your child, and then we keep up with that time. Like, if you say every 30 minutes, ask him, and if he doesn't say anything at the hour, you take him anyway. Or if someone is using pull-ups and they have a bathroom incident, then we'll be glad to take care of that, clean them up, and get them right back into respite. So we're not contacting you at all about that.
Okay. And I want to throw this comment in there. I want you guys to hear the good ones, even if they're not a question. Somebody said, my sister-in-law's in the back, or Veronica said, my sister-in-law's in the back listening and already wants to cancel a yearly beach house family vacation so we can do cruises now.
Come on, because we're there to help you. We're that extra set of hands you always wished you had.
I want to take them home with you.
Yeah, you do.
Team Orange needs to go home with everyone.
Yeah, and I have to be honest. That's one of our goals, right at the beginning, to establish that relationship with your family, so that you feel as though we're a part of your family and we're just there to support you, because that is our passion.
And so that leads me to the thing. So I know that you do that on the cruise, and I know there's a real connection, and I know you guys are really close to the families. What about prepping our children to cruise?
Yeah, that is a great question. So one of the things that we do pre-cruise is that we provide different resources to you. So one of them, if you like, we can send you little pictures that would give you all kinds of visuals, because I know a lot of kids need those visuals, and some even need a schedule. And that helps to develop that, whatever they need on the cruise. And then we also have a variety of social stories. But one of the other things I want to make sure you know is that we have some amazing parents that also serve as a resource. So if you ever wanted to reach out and not hear from me and hear from a real parent that's been on a cruise, and you want to ask them questions, we have that also. We have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook page that's Autism on the Seas community that you can talk back and forth. And then we also have even a private Facebook page for each cruise, so we can put up pictures that happen through the cruise, and only you are seeing those. So you're in control of how you want to post them or not.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know you have the group. The group has lots of information.
Yes. And on our website, go there and just explore it. Take 15 minutes if you can, or maybe you're on your lunch break one day. We do have an interactive brochure that's available, and there's also a video that you can see what it's like when you're spending your time on the cruise with us. So take advantage and look at those. They're very, very helpful.
Okay. Somebody asked, I asked part of her question, but her other part was, what if her child is nonverbal and likes music 24/7, but all he likes to do is lay down? Will he be forced to participate in activities during respite?
No, of course not. Sometimes we have our best dance parties in respite. You'll have to come check it out. But no, we try to have the respite room established so there's pillows and blankets. If they want to have a chill out time, I've had kids bring their headsets and they just want to listen to music. They want to have karaoke. They want to have dancing. We'll do any of that with them too. And bringing headsets along on the cruise is a great thing if you know that your kid may want to have that as an accommodation too. But music is fine. They can bring, if they want to bring a laptop in to respite, they're more than welcome to. We go on what you guide us with. So if you use that as a reward, or you use it at a certain time of the day, we totally respect how you tell us to use that.
Okay, so that was another question. So we are allowed to send our kids with their electronics. We're allowed to bring our children's electronics. Okay.
Yes. The only thing I ask about that is you let us know if there's a lockout or a security code to get in. And the other thing is to make sure they're charged or bring me a charging cord or whatever,
Okay.
because a lot of times that's when we'll see the meltdown is they run out of power or they get locked out. So we go ahead and prep that and have that ready for them.
Okay. Got that.
Roxy had a good question. I can't find it about the locks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see, where was it? I'm
We-
looking for it now.
Yeah, if you look on our website, and we use these in respite too, in the respite room, but there are little safety alarms that you can purchase and have on your door, which is your cabin door. And they have a very pleasant chime on one of them. And then the other one is a shrill drill sound. It sounds like a siren. The kids usually put their hands over their ears if they hear that, because it's definitely gets your attention. And you are more than welcome to purchase those. And I would be glad to bring them. If you purchase them, they'll either be mailed to you or they can be delivered to you on the ship too, if we need to do that.
Okay. Does that help, Roxy? I see it. She said, what kind of locks are on the room doors? Because her daughter is a eloper, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Roxy too. If you a lot of the cruise ships with if you happen to get a balcony, the doors are very hard to open. So you have. I mean, it takes a lot of effort to get the balcony doors open, but the other ones you can use those alarms to help you if that happens. And then also, let's say she elopes out of the room, then you have us to help you too. You can give us, that's part of the communication. I have my ship phone, I have my cell. We also have security on the ship that's willing to help us out. And we would take that very seriously and address that right away.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. I have, there was respite, I think. So I know that you go to dinner. You guys come to dinner with us and help us with dinner. Will there ever be a dinner with a respite time during a dinner?
Yes. Let's talk about that. I'm so glad you brought that up for two reasons. The first, respite is usually 2 hours at a session, but on one night we make that 3 hours, and it's wrapped around dinner time. And I like to call it dinner date night or dinner out with friends, because we have a lot of single moms or single dads that go out and have a great time too. So that is our dinner respite. It usually is a 3-hour session. And then one of the other things I wanted to tell you is that a lot of the ships will have evening shows. They have musical productions. They might have a guest come in and does a special show. And so we also try to have respite around those times of those shows. So at least we have. So if they have a musical like Cats or Grease, we will get at least one of those slotted times within the cruise week as reserved seats for us. And then the evenings I will have on your schedule what shows we have reserved seats for, so you'll know throughout the week when we're going. And then we have private time. Anything that the other people on the ship can have access to, like the flow rider, the surfing, or the roller skating, or the bumper cars, ice skating. Anything that is open to other people, we do privately. So we will have a session just for our families, nobody else during that time.
Okay. Okay. And schedules. Will there be a pre-planned schedule for the entirety of the trip so that our loved ones on the spectrum will be able to plan ahead and know what's coming up?
Yeah. Yes. We don't have everything. We have most of it confirmed, but on the day that we board the ship, we double confirm, make sure everything is set up. And then that evening of your first dinner, you will be presented with an overview for the week or over how many days you're on the ship. And then every day we will go back over that schedule because sometimes things change a little bit and get moved around, and sometimes things are added special for us. So you'll get a different schedule every day. So you can talk
Okay.
to your family about your choices about, hey, do we want to do this or do we want to sleep in? And then you could let us know.
Okay. Okay. And sorry, I'm jumping around here.
It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so one of my things was okay. So I know that mealtime, dinner time could be like you could have the early dinner or you could have the late dinner. But I know that you attend with us. Do we all have the same dinner?
Yes, that is a very good question. We do all have the same dinner, and it's usually the very first, that what they call the early seating. And we will have tables all established in an area for us. They're usually near the entrance of the door so that we have easy access to the restrooms or be able to take the kids out for a walk. And then also on your questionnaire that you'll be completing, you can say we want to sit by ourselves, which may mean you're a family of 4 and you have a table of 4 to yourself within our area, or you can say I'd like to have the staff at my table, and we anyway will establish ourselves in the whole area so that we're spread out to support everybody.
Okay. And sorry, I lost my. Oh, so then that leads me to Gail with the rooming. So because of the different types of rooms, the different types of rooms needed, not just because they're inner, like the ocean view, and because there'll be different accessibility issues. Do you want to go into the different types of rooms? And so everybody won't be rooming together. I mean, in the same area.
Right, correct. So there are inside cabins. That is where it's what it is. It's inside. There are no windows. There is also an additional category to that where you can get a virtual balcony, whereas it's inside, but you have kind of a picture of the ocean and kind of, and then there is an ocean view. That is where you would have either a porthole or a larger window, depending on the type of room. And then there's the balcony where you would have a balcony. And then some, if a ship has a promenade, some of the rooms also it has a balcony, but they face the promenade. And then we also, there are, of course, accessible rooms if needed. Those tend to go quickly. So you want to, if you do need an accessible room, that's something that you would want to make sure that you request right away when you book, rather than wait and say, oh, I needed an accessible room, may not be available. Okay. What was your next question on that?
Oh, no, I was just saying that, so everybody may not, if everybody in this group were to go, our rooms may not be booked all together.
Oh, and they may not be together, correct, because people may want different categories. And even if, let's say there's 5 rooms that are inside cabins, doesn't necessarily mean that they will be next to each other, because within every category, of course, there's like subcategories.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on if it's midship, forward, or aft.
Yeah, and let me just add this in there. Some of them also can be adjoining rooms. They do have a few of those. And then they also, when you're looking at them, they talk about some of them have the bunk beds that come down from the ceiling, and some of them have like more of like a trundle bed that can come out in use.
So it would depend on too how many people were rooming in the rooms as well.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Indeed. And can we talk about mobility for just a second?
Yes.
If you don't mind. That is something that when you book, if you're going to need a wheelchair, or maybe you're going to need a scooter, maybe you're bringing a sweet grandma like me that needs a scooter, and you can rent those, and those can be at the port and be there for you to use and to return at the end. And then also, if anybody, we do staff beach excursions during the week, 1 or 2 depending on the length of the cruise. And that is when we meet all to the families that would like to go. We meet all together and we walk off the ship with priority if we need. And then we will lead you to the excursion, whether it's a walkable to a beach or if we need transportation, we take care of that for you too. Of course, if there's any cost, we'd let you know ahead of time. And then once we get to the beach area where we're going, we set up kind of like beach camp. We get all the chairs, we get all set up, and then the staff gets in the water and takes care of the children. And supervised by the parents too, based on how many staff. And we want the parents out there having fun too. But we'll stay there for about half a day at the beach excursion for a couple of hours.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, Nia's ready to go.
I'm ready.
Oh, I can't wait for you to see it. And then one of the other things that people may want to know as they're looking is that Royal Caribbean has this new fantastic place called Coco Cay. And half of that area is a water park that does have a cost. The other is very accessible with mobility and getting kids. And there's several things for kids there that are free. They have a pirate ship. They have another little water park area. They have a walk-in pool. And we would be there to help you have a great time, of course, for that perfect day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I seen the Coco Cay. I was wondering what that was. I didn't look into it, but I saw. Just didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question. I had a question about food restrictions.
Yes.
And specific diets throughout the day on board. So say a child eats a certain food all day long, a certain type of food, like even at breakfast time.
Yeah.
Or special diets.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah, and for medication too. I know one of the things that I did on one cruise, I had ice cream at 6:30 in the morning for somebody that did that, and I had oatmeal at their room at 10:30 at night. So we try to meet any kind of accommodations that are needed. Now, one thing when you fill out the questionnaire about your kids and your family, it does list on there if there's any dietary needs, any allergies on there. With the diet, if there's something you need like almond milk, soy milk, that's all that will be on the ship provided. If you need to bring something, a special snack that's already sealed, that's not a problem. But anything that you might need, I've had kids that have had one family, I'm thinking the kids up to 18 allergies. So what we do is all of that's listed, and the staff, the Royal Caribbean staff, gets provided to them a list of all of our families and what their needs are. The other thing that we can do is meet with the chef. We do the Windjammer for breakfast and lunch, and we can meet with them and let them know, hey, gluten-free, we have a whole section for you, or we need something special made every morning at a certain time. Your kid really needs it. They'll have that there ready for them. And then in the evenings, you can pre-order for the following night.
I was going to ask that.
Yes, you can pre-order for the following night. They'll bring you out a menu, or you can tell them. And then also it's available, special orders are available for breakfast and lunch too. Now, one of the things that when we go to, like if we're going to Labadee, which is one of the private islands there, we can pre-order whatever food it is that they can bring for them, and they would tell me the location and the time. So there is a little bit of work to be done to make sure that that's established, but it happens all the time. We just have to get it in place for you.
Okay. Okay. And so one of my other questions with dinner time is the wait after you get to dinner and they're at the table, the wait between the order time and receiving the food. So like normally what we do is we get there, and so when what kind of drinks you want, we put the order in.
Yes.
Can we do that quicker? Could we do that?
Yes. Yes. So
expedited
you can do it
process?
a couple of different ways. One of the things that some people do is they tell them what they want on the table when they arrive. So maybe you want to have fruit on the table when you arrive, or maybe you need gluten-free bread, French fries, or maybe you want the kids' meal to come out right away. So you can tell them that on that first evening and establish that routine, and they will do that. If you need chocolate milk every night, you just tell them what you're going to need, and they'll provide that for you. Now, sometimes we have done this with other kids, whereas maybe they will order and maybe need a walk break. Like maybe they order and they eat their appetizer, and now we're waiting for the entree to come. So maybe that's a good time for us to go take a short walk and come back and sit back down and eat. Do the same thing after the entree's done. We might take a short walk, come back in, and sit down and eat the dessert. So it just really depends on what's needed for your kid. Does that
Can I just
answer the question?
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to add something. So the first night is kind of, it may be a little bit longer because they're getting but then usually after, and then it's like it
Clockwork.
runs smoother, faster.
Okay.
Yes, and then you don't ever hesitate to say, "Hey, Sandy, dinner tonight was really slow at my table." So you'd let me know, and I'll talk with them and see maybe what was going on and how we can make sure that that is improved for the following. That's very rare, but if something like that occurs, you don't ever hesitate to say, "Hey, I've got a need here. Can you help me out?"
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good question in here. We know there should be a medical staff.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
No, she says her son takes seizure medicine, and she just wants to know if it's
Nita, that's fantastic. Thank you for bringing that up. That's also in the questionnaire. Also, along with the allergies, do you have any medical needs, such as do you carry an EpiPen, or do you have seizure medication? And what we would have is the family to complete a medical form for us, so we would know what's going on with the kid and how you would want us to proceed and who to proceed and all the procedures that go along with that. But there's also, we're not medically certified in any way, but we would want to know prior if there's any condition that we need to be aware of. But they also have doctors and a professional medical staff on board, a medical center that's open at different times, and they also will come in any type of emergency situation also.
Okay, great. Great.
And it's not uncommon for us to have kids that have EpiPens or have had seizures. We just have to know ahead of time by you completing the form what's going on and how you want to proceed if there happened to be a seizure. Okay. And that goes back to the communication of needing, communicating with those parents.
Yes, that is important. That is important. Tiffany, we're in the planning stage. That's why they are here. So once we get through this presentation, we will get started with putting the cruise together.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And let me just say also, just like you have expedited boarding, at the end of the cruise, I know that day comes and you're like, oh, we have to go home. But when that day comes, we have a location where we all meet together. And then we have expedited exiting the ship also, so that we go out and it's not that craziness down there. And they give us priority doing that and having our luggage ready, and so that we can go through customs with the staff and helping you exit and get to back to your car and whatever how your transportation is.
Okay. Okay, we have Della X. Her son's name is Marlo. So she says if Marlo ate at 5 or 6, and that's considered dinner, then dinner isn't or won't be served again till 5 p.m. the next day. Her son's an eater. So
he loves to eat. Yeah. I get it. And you know what? as many times as there's food, there's always food around. So one
Everywhere.
of the
All the
one
time.
of the one of
I
the
mean, there's like, I think 24-hour
oh
room
yes,
service, right? Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
pizza all the time. Yeah, and
Ice
there's
cream.
all kinds of things. So one of the things that I suggest to some of my parents is keep a little snack bar in your room. So by that I say in the morning, if you see cereal packaged up in little containers and you know your kid loves Cheerios, take 3 or 4, have them in your room. Apples, fruit, have that in your room. And then, plan. There's always, well, not always, at a reasonable time in the morning, the ice cream also opens, and the kids love that too. And you can go over and have ice cream. But there's also on the promenades, they have sandwiches, they'll have fruit, cookies. Always the pizza and things like that that you can also have in between times too.
Mhm.
The things that you have to pay for are the specialty coffees. You might also pay for soft drinks and any specialty dining rooms. Those you would have an extra cost, but for the majority, everything is for you to enjoy.
Okay. Roxy wanted me, we missed a question when you were talking about the excursions on the beach.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Okay. She says, so my daughter loves to swim and,
mm-hmm,
of course, doesn't know how deep it is.
mm-hmm,
She just sees water and wants to jump in to swim.
mm-hmm.
Is there any way that she can climb up or on anything to try to jump in the ocean?
Okay, so let's talk about the ship first. Right beside the ship, we'd make sure it's a very secure area, and they also provide life vests if the kids would like to use those, the safety vests. And then also, when we're in Labadee, there are safety vests also. There is trying to think. They do have playgrounds that are in the far distance of where we are, but she could do inflatables if that's something your family would like to do. But I don't think of anything that right around the pools that she could jump on. Now we do go to the water slides if that's something that she would be interested in. We have a private time of those, but right around the pools, there's not really anything to. They have lifeguards by the pools on the
Mhm.
ship, and that is one of their rules that you have to walk, and there is no jumping into the pool. Gail, you want to
Oh,
talk
she's
about that?
one second. She's fine. She's fine, Mark. She's fine. She's actually helping us out with some of the questions in the chat.
Okay,
Okay. Go ahead.
but
Oh, sorry.
yeah, I was going to say even when we were at the beach excursions with us, we also would make sure that we have a zone area of where we're going to be, so it would be safe for the kids also.
Mhm.
But we do have to, I mean, just like any time when you're around water, we need all hands on board and all eyes watching too. So we'll make sure our staff, and that's one of the things that's important to know how many kids are in the water and who's watching who, and making sure that we're all helping one another.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So I think that covered the safety for some parts, because I know that we're still all nervous.
Yeah, and Linda, one of the things that I think is important for parents to know is when transitioning on the cruise ships, you want to make sure that you're thinking about the different decks, and you want to make sure that when you do transition, you're on a deck that is not open. And that's what we do as our team and staff. And then also, because that makes it more comforting too, to know that it's enclosed on those levels too, and that you have the appropriate number of people with you at all times.
I'd like to add to that, when booking a
Mhm.
room, one of the things that we look for is we look what is above the deck
Mm-hmm.
above and the deck below. So,
Mm-hmm.
if make sure you're there, like above there's not a bar or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
loud music, or, and in this case we could
Mm-hmm.
also make sure that it's not easy accessible to
Mm-hmm.
an open area. So
Mm-hmm.
we definitely can take that into account,
Mm-hmm.
um, and even book you away from the elevator or away from the stairs, so at least
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And just to hear this out loud, when you cruise with Autism on the Seas and we're traveling with our loved ones on the spectrum, and we're in this group, we're not limited from anything else in the that's available to everybody else on the cruise.
No, everything is accessible and available to you. There are guidelines, of course, when you're doing an active activity. Sometimes they have height requirements or weight requirements. Those things are still in place based on the cruise line and what their recommendations are. But everything is accessible to us, just like any other cruise passenger.
Okay, now that brought me to another thought that I just had. Now,
Hmm.
say that my husband and I and our older kids and my daughter, say we wanted to take our daughter that's on the
Hmm.
spectrum and go do something totally different for that
Hmm.
day. We could do that for the day and go do our own thing with
Hmm.
her. Okay, so
Yeah,
you can.
yeah.
Okay.
You certainly can do that. And Linda, one of the things that we'll be asking you at dinner as we plan for the
Mm-hmm.
next day are, hey, what are you thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
Here are the options and what are your thoughts? And you may even sign up for some excursions prior to even coming on the cruise. So if
Mhm.
you guys wanted to go on a Jeep excursion, or maybe you guys wanted to swim with dolphins, sure, go and do those
Okay.
things. And then
Okay.
sometimes people ask me, do you have staff that might be available to go on those excursions? And I would say yes, most likely. We first, if that's a staff beach excursion day, we'd want to make sure we have enough staff to cover our families first. And then if you requested and we have staff that maybe you said, hey, I want another set of hands for the Jeep excursion or the dolphins, then yes, we will try to work that out for you.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. So financing. Um,
Hmm.
Gail and I spoke a
Yeah.
little bit earlier today as far as financing. So I know that there's going to be a lot of questions. So I don't know where to start. Maybe if we could start, maybe. So first off, let me start with. I think it was. Did you say this, Anita? So first off, let me put out there. Mark says this. Mark Rosato. We haven't decided. We're thinking summer of 2020. We haven't decided on a port for sure or the cruise line for sure. We've narrowed it down fairly closely. We're going to put up a poll, and we're going to decide after this live, after we get the votes in, and we'll see what we come up with. As far as financing, do you want to discuss how financing could work as far as regarding the down payments and the the deposit and the payments?
Hmm.
Okay, so when you book the cruise, there is a deposit required, and it varies on, again, it varies on the ship and the length and so forth. But let's say that the deposit is $200. So you would put the deposit down, and then you are locked into that room. I shouldn't say locked in. That's the wrong word. But you are confirmed.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
and then the final payment is around usually 2 months before your cruise. So you have from the date you make the deposit until the final payment to pay it off. You don't have to make payments. You can put the deposit down and then pay it all at once, or you can make payments. The only requirement is that it is paid off by the final date. That's all. So if that answers your question on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roxy, once we, after the live and we get out the dates and can get all the information together, then we will
Have
better
the
know,
specific.
yeah, the specifics of the
Mhm.
total. Right now, we're just getting you know, the information about how
Yeah.
they can work with us.
Exactly.
Nita, let me share one really unique way that
Okay.
some of my parents have had great success in getting some support with payment with cruises. Is they establish a Go Cruise Me page.
Yeah, we were going to discuss that. Yeah, we were just about to get to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to discuss one more thing before that, Sandy.
Yeah,
Though,
sure.
if you wanted to mention, sorry, Sandy.
No, it's
Gail,
okay.
if you wanted to mention what Mike talked about with the some of the, we don't exactly know what category, but about what we talked about earlier with the respite.
You're talking about me or Sandy?
Yeah, sorry.
About
About funding related to respite, like
the waiver, the
101.
Medicaid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so some families have gotten the respite covered and parts of the other costs covered through their Medicaid. Uh, if their child receives Medicaid, sometimes even under other agencies. That would be up to the family, though. So what has happened in the past is the family would pay for the cruise, and then if they needed itemized invoice or anything broke down, then they can submit that. They can ask that from us, and then we can submit that, and then they can submit that to their agency for possible reimbursement. Every agency is different, so they may require hours, specific hours that they have to use and so forth. So does that answer your question?
Yes, and you might want to check into that beforehand and check with them first. That might be the best way to go about it before you go into this. That might be the best way.
Right. Check with your agencies and see so you know ahead of time what it's covered.
Yes.
What they need from us, what we need.
Exactly. And each state will have different things that they call it, maybe.
Right.
For respite, medical waiver or med waiver. So look into it, and they may have different ways to count it. So look into it and find out ahead of time.
Okay, someone had a good question about.
Okay, is it changing? Is it changing from finance, Nita?
No.
Okay, good, perfect.
Going back to making the payments.
Okay, good.
So there's a type of insurance. So, like if they have a medical emergency, and they all of a sudden they start making payments, and they can't go. There's insurance available, right?
Gail, do you want me?
There was a little bit of lag there. Okay.
Yeah.
So most of the most inexpensive cruise fare is non-refundable. However, that does not mean the whole cruise is non-refundable. Okay. What it means is that if you would, and there's a timeline, like if you cancel before a certain date, and each cruise has their different regulations. So you would not lose everything. It depends. Like if you would, I'm just say, say 3 months into making payments, you realize you can't go, then it would be whatever the like you would probably lose your deposit. Again, every time is different, but it's not like you're locked in. That's so there are options.
Yes, and it's on your contract. It tells you it gives you the very specifics of that, and then they also give you an option of buying additional insurance, travel insurance, and that's an option that's provided through the cruise line or outside of the cruise line. And Nita, you mentioned especially if you think you have one that may have a medical emergency of any kind, that might be something that they may want to explore, because it tells you exactly what it would cover and the amounts and things like that.
Okay. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Nita. I didn't want to lose my train of thought with where this is all going. I was trying
Go
to.
back to
Yeah.
go back, Linda, to the funding.
Okay. Uh, so I think everybody got that with the med waiver and the respite. And so after that, so we got the financing and we got the deposit and then we got the respite. So after that, so we've had people ask, could we start fundraisers? Could we start
Yes.
certain ways? What if we can't afford it? So just like GoFundMe, there's a thing called Go Cruise Me, and we're going to have Gail or Sandy, whichever one they decide, explain how this will work.
Well, it's actually right there on our website. I just pulled it up on my phone. It's you look under the financial assistance, and you can look, and there is a page right there that explains all of it, called Go Cruise Me. Create your own donation page, and it has a link right there that you can just click on and create your own one. Create it your own account right there, and a lot of the parents have done that. I mean, but you can get very creative, and we're having bake sales. You can do all kinds of things. And you know your kids and you know your kind of your community and things like that. It is a great thing. Also, you can get gift certificates if someone wants to make a gift certificate out to you. So if you want to ask for birthday funds or maybe graduation, or you know how grandparents, they will jump right in there and help too. So take advantage of that too. But gift certificates are there also.
Okay, great. Gift certificates are a good idea.
So there you go. So for the ones who said that, what can we do? Those are some options right there, and each person can run their own, and that's a big help right there. I was really happy to hear that. Lorianne there says she asked, will there be a family night? And that would be, we would probably set that up for ourselves with Autism on Us. Of course, we wouldn't disclude Autism on the Seas, but yeah, we would want. Would you guys do something like that, where it's like, say, Autism on Us, because we're a group, and say we wanted to do a thing where we had Autism on Us because we're all around the country, so
we could probably
plan an event.
We could look at doing something similar to that. And one of the things that we also do sometimes is we have silent dance parties, which are a lot of fun. And you wear headsets, and they have two stations on them. So there's two different kinds of music playing at the same time, but it's totally quiet because everybody's got their headsets on, but they're dancing and having a good time. It is awesome and a lot of fun. We also take a time at the end of our cruise to do two things. One, on the formal evening, one of the formal nights, which can be dress as you want. It doesn't have to be super fancy, but we will provide a private time for families to take family portraits with assistance there with staff. Hold all your stuff, yell at, give the kids waves, so you get that priceless family portrait. And then we also do a whole group photo that's of all of the families wearing our Autism on the Sea shirts, and we'd provide that to you digitally at no cost to you. So so we build in those times for you too. So we could talk about what our options are and what's available, and what venues are available and what you might want to do.
Okay. And Loriander, we were talking about the 3-hour respite time as a time like that as well for the adults. The 3-hour respite night as a thing like that as well. So let me see. I don't know if there's any more, but there'll be more, I'm sure. And let me just see. Anita, did you have anything else?
Linda, one of the other things that's available to our parents is that you can go into our website, and there is a place where you can ask for additional question and answer time. So you can go in and check off areas that you have concerns about, and then a group leader or someone could give you a call and talk to you about your family and your kids specifically if you want some additional information.
Okay, that's good to hear.
And I want to also mention to everyone that's coming back with questions, they'll be around to answer the questions in the chat. They may visit the area later on, because we're going to keep the video up. So if there's something in the
Mm-hmm.
chat room that hasn't been answered this evening,
Yes,
they'll come back and answer the questions for you.
absolutely.
So don't
Okay.
think we're ignoring you, okay?
This isn't a one and out or anything.
Okay. Okay. One of the things. Okay. Somebody asked. Okay. What is the best or most important advice that you would give us before coming on the ship with our loved ones that are on the spectrum?
I would say to come prepared to have a good time, to know that it is very common for that first day to feel overwhelmed and anxious as you arrive, as you prepare your suitcases, you prepare your paperwork, you load. But after, I would say that first night, that first evening, it is very much scheduled. So, and you participate in what you want because it's your vacation, but it's very much of something you can say, first we're doing this and then we're doing this, and it just really gives everyone a chance um, to have a very calm and a very fun experience. So I would come anticipating that yes, it's okay to be nervous and excited, but
Sure.
there will be times where you'll be sitting next to the pool and just realize that you've been there for 30 minutes and you know, have enjoyed reading your book and your kid is having a
Mhm.
great time. So I would say come prepared to have a great time with your family.
Come
Hmm.
prepared to have fun. I am ready. I'm ready.
Okay, so two more questions.
Sure.
One is if you pay it off 3 months before we sell, um, but something came up, an emergency came up, can you switch the date?
Gail?
That you made the final payment.
Yeah.
You okay. Um, if you have insurance, I would say so. That is why it's important to have travel insurance,
Hmm.
Okay.
and you want to make sure you have the right travel insurance.
Hmm.
So if you have a complicated history medically
Mhm.
that is very, so you want to make sure that the policy covers what would be, what could possibly be a cancellation reason.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you want to make sure that you get the travel your insurance pretty shortly after you book,
Hmm.
because a lot of times they have there's a clause about pre-existing conditions, so you want to make sure that you book within I think it's about 14
Yeah.
days
Okay.
with the travel insurance, and then that way they can't come back and
Yeah.
say,
You
well,
bought it
you know,
because of such and such.
Hmm.
correct.
Hmm.
Okay.
So yes,
Yeah.
if you have, that's why it's important for travel insurance. If you don't have travel insurance, it would be whatever the penalty would be for canceling at that time.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's really important to take a look at because it'll say refundable or not refundable, and it'll even explain to you on your contract if at this many days this is how much you get back, this many, and it explains it to you.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Gal's points lead into my last question. If there's an emergency or if something happened and you needed to cut your cruise short,
Mm-hmm.
what measures are taken?
That again would be like if you're in the middle of your cruise and you have a
Mhm.
family emergency,
Hmm.
then
Whether it's from the family on board or family somewhere
Yeah,
else, yeah.
yeah,
well, if it's a
Mhm.
medical emergency, and then that person would it would be flown back from the. This is kind of um, if it's a true medical emergency, they would be flown back, obviously, to the or the nearest port.
yes,
Okay.
That
yes.
I'm not. That's a little bit. I'll have to find that out. But if it's a, I'm not sure if it's a death in the family. Like if it's something happens back at home where there's a death in the family. I don't. it depends on the travel policy.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
important.
Okay.
You may, if you're in port, you may be able to fly home, but and it's important to have a passport in that case.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's talk about that for a minute. You want to talk about passports and birth certificates, and the information will be provided for you. But in case there is a medical emergency, they can.
Okay, one second.
Yeah, go ahead.
With that, first off, a medical emergency. Are we talking about a physical medical emergency, or are we talking about a medical emergency that would include autism? I mean, like a medical emergency that includes. Okay, so we're talking like a physical medical emergency, not like something that falls under autism, without being a physical. Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's not life threatening. So if it was life threatening, that's the type of emergency we're talking about, where they.
So that's what I'm saying. So we can't say like, oh, my child's just not being able to do this, but the medical diagnosis is longer. That's not going to go. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Correct.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Sandy. Go ahead.
No. I was just, you were headed on the right.
I just wanted to put that out there and make that clear, because I've seen insurance that normally doesn't cover that.
Yeah, on cruises where the ship has gone back to port to take somebody for a medical emergency. I've seen where they've come to pick them up with the helicopter. So they, and then the other question about, can you get off early? If there was some reason that you needed to, then you would work with me, and I would work with the group coordinator and the staff to talk about what that would look like and what we would need to do to get prepared to get you off the ship at the next port if that was needed, like a death in the family or something of that sort. Now, if a kid is one of our kids and families are having a difficult time in some way, then we would want to meet with you and talk with you and come up with many strategies to help any concerns that you may have, because everybody's different and everybody experiences things in different ways. So we would want to, that's why having those volunteers as professionals and in that field, they have so many strategies that can be used to help the family and the kids.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Welcome. That was a great question.
Okay, thank you.
Back to the passports.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Is that, you had a question about the passports? No?
Someone said, let's talk passport.
Oh, yeah, I think that was it, though. I think that was all of it, though, right?
Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
okay.
I think it was.
Well,
yeah, I think,
I mean, so.
Well, let's clear this.
Well,
oh, no, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay.
Gail, you're up.
So when you're on a closed loop itinerary, meaning if you leave from one port and go back to the same port, you only need a birth certificate and a photo ID.
Okay.
Minimally. However, just like you said, if there's a medical emergency and you have to fly home from a port, that will not be good enough to get you home if you're in a foreign country. So that's why you really want to consider getting a passport.
Okay.
Minimally, no, you don't need it. However, it's really a good idea.
Okay. So for example, if we're cruising from Florida to the Bahamas or the Caribbean, we don't need a passport. But if we were flying out because there was an emergency and we're going to fly to an airport that needs to fly us from their airport, some airport out there, to back here, then we're going to need a passport to fly home.
Okay. So it's just safe just to get that passport.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Correct.
Safe and sorry.
Otherwise, it'll cost you a lot of money in the long run.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, Nita, you also want to make sure that your passport is 6 months from needing to be renewed. So you don't want to say, oh, we're leaving in January and it's due in February. You want to make sure that you keep it renewed and very up to date.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good big piece of information. Okay. Yeah, I think that's.
And then, Linda, Anita, there's one other resource I thought about that the parents may want to be aware of. If you're flying into a port, some of the airlines actually have sensory rooms that you could be aware of. And then also some of the airlines have where you can give them information that your child has special needs, and they will give you special accommodations also. And then going along with that, Autism on the Seas and along with the Royal Caribbean offer free ship tours at certain ports at certain times. And you can see that on our website. It is a valuable thing to come and do if you want to come and just check out, how does your kid like the ship? Do you think this is something that might be a good fit for your family? It's free. You come and get to walk around on the ship, guided, of course. You can see the kids club. You get to see the pool, the different areas that are available on the ship. And then you also get to have lunch with them and have a chance to ask any questions of the Royal Caribbean staff or the Autism on the Sea staff. So take a look at that, because it is available at ports throughout the country at certain times during the year.
Okay.
Okay. Owen Perry, you can. You said you just joined. When this live is over, the replay will be available, so you can rewatch the video. We'll have it throughout the groups also.
For Gail, do you go on the cruises as well, like Sandy does?
Well, I know. I'm a travel. So
yes, so you do as pleasure, and yes, you do for training. So yes, she will have been on cruises. But
I will. Yeah. So I have been on 4 Autism on the Seas cruises, and so I know what it's like from a mom's standpoint. Okay. So I'm seeing both sides. So you asked what the advice I could give for first time cruisers. And I know this sounds, it's very simple, but once you do it, you'll understand, is just go.
Yes.
Because it is when you leave, and it's time to say goodbye, you really wish Team Orange could come with you, and you have friends, and it sounds cliche, but it's true. You stay in contact with these people, and you will be, after you go, you will be recruiting for us probably. Oh yeah. So, that's my best advice, because I've been on 4, and I know people who've been on many more, and it's that's all I can say. It's emotional in a good way.
Yeah, I am really excited, and I look forward to you working with you guys this first year, second year, the third year.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a recurring thing.
I'm not sure if Sandy covered it, but this shirt that I showed you, my shirt. So this is Autism on the Sea shirt. This is the 4th year cruise.
All right.
Every color, every time you go, you get a different color shirt. So the first year is gray.
Yeah.
And then that's the first cruise. First cruise is gray. The second cruise is yellow.
Yellow.
The third cruise is light blue. The 4th cruise is
navy.
Red. Blue. And then it goes on from there. So the cool thing is, when you get the picture, there's all these different colors in it, because it's very cool. Okay. Kind of like autism,
Yeah, that's really neat. So, Sandy, what's the largest cruise that you've been with on the Autism on the Seas? The largest Autism on the Seas party that you've taken?
Well, on my largest group I've ever had was a New Year's Eve cruise, and we had about 30 families and a lot of staff. So we had almost 100 people in that group. But I've also had very small groups too. So it's just exciting to see I agree with Gail about just come and go and give yourself permission to relax. Because a lot of times I think that's one of the most important things that parents get to do. But 30 has been the largest group for me, but I know that there have been other groups that have been quite larger than that. But for me, 30 families has been my largest. Yeah.
Okay. And what have you seen, Gail? Besides
on the cruises I've been on, I think it was about 10 families.
Yeah.
So I've not seen one as large. So, but I've The first one we were on, I think there might have been 2 or 3, and then we were on with 10 families.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna try to get as many as
You
absolutely.
At least,
Yeah.
at least our goal is to get bigger and bigger each year. That's our goal. Yeah, to get bigger and bigger each year.
Yeah.
Well,
And the bigger you get, the more we bring. So yeah,
good.
Yeah, right.
So,
let's go for 40.
yeah. So we'd like to thank you guys for coming out, you know, to be able to do this for us. We really appreciate it. You gave a lot of information, and we really, really appreciate that.
And this live will, this recording will be up on our main page. So if you guys happen to come by and you see some questions in the chat, feel free to come right on in the chat room and answer any questions.
Yeah, and
thank you for all that you do through your support group too, and how you
Yes.
reach out and touch families. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for all you do also.
Thank you.
And I'm
Thank
actually
you.
at Wyandotte. Do you know where Wyandotte is?
Yeah.
I've heard of that. Yeah. I was like, why do I know that? Yeah, I know that from. Yeah, I know that too.
I'm right up the road, so I'm in Detroit. Yeah.
Yep.
So right up the road. Yeah.
I have to say the only fear that I have is that when we disembark and it's after the cruise is that I'm going to wish that I had Autism on the Sea staff like in every place that we go.
Yep.
And I saw somebody comment, they said that they need Autism on the Seas in the schools. They need, you know, and I'm sure, you know, there would be so many different places that we could use this. You know, we could use this in different, you know, just so many different arenas, you know.
We'll definitely put it out there.
This would be, so Autism on the Seas, I think that's my only fear is that I'm going to love it so much that it's going to be hard to.
Yeah, and let me tell you one more thing before we leave. There are free brochures and pamphlets and things on our website. So take a look at that. And if you want any of those, please request them.
Okay, that's what I forgot. Somebody did ask that. That's good to know. Thank you, Sandy. Somebody did ask for that. So brochures can be seen at their website. And what is your website? How can they? What is it?
AutismOnTheSeas.com.
Okay. .com. Okay.
I put the link in the chat,
but
I seen somewhere where we can get some bulk brochures, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So great.
Okay, thank you so much again. Thank you for everything. And we'll be in contact for sure. And I'll be talking to you guys. Thank you
we
so
were
much
on here for an hour and a half. Pretty good.
Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good night, both of you guys.
Have a happy holiday.
Later. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you. We're going to have this up. It's going to be pinned at the top of the group. As well, it will be pinned on the main page. So if you think of a question you forgot, feel free to put it in the chat because they will come back and answer some questions for you.
Yeah.
And have a good night, everybody. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, and I was going to say, so if we didn't answer your questions, like I said, is it good for autistic children only? No, everybody's family members are allowed, not only for autistic children. Any children, your whole family, other special needs. Okay, so any other questions that aren't answered, we'll go back and answer. See you guys later. Have a good night.
Thank you for hanging with us.
Night. See you guys later. Night.